Memes can be cringe, memes can be witty, memes can be funny, but they're not usually noted for representing a 100% accurate view of reality. And yet now, we're literally living this meme. New variant, surging cases, lockdowns and further restrictions, vaccination or another booster, slight reopen.
New variant, surging cases, lockdown and further restrictions, vaccination or another booster, slight reopen. New variant, surging cases, lockdowns and further restrictions, vaccination or another booster, slight reopen. New variant, surging cases, lockdowns and further restrictions, vaccination or another booster, slight reopen.
If the creators of Black Mirror remade the movie Groundhog Day, they told us we had to learn to live with the virus. Unless it's a new variant of the virus, in which case we can't live with it. They told us we'd vaccinate our way to freedom. Then they told us the vaccinations would never end.
There's not going to be an endpoint to this vaccination program.
So we only get our freedom back when the vaccination program ends. And the vaccination program never ends.
There's not going to be an endpoint to this vaccination program.
Oh shit.
But it's Christmas time. We'll be in line for a booster. But it's Christmas time, we'll be in line for a booster. Stop it, please, I beg you!
They told us they'd stop obsessing about case numbers and instead focus on hospitalizations. Well, these are the figures on hospitalizations. There are fewer COVID patients in hospital than there were in October. The number of people in hospital primarily for COVID is down 4,214 in England. It's been below 5,000 since 10th of November. Guess it's time for another semi-lockdown then.
The government has announced England is moving into Plan B of its winter plan.
Now is the time for Plan B.
Plan B.
Plan B.
Plan B.
Plan B. In England,
The day before all this, they said there were no plans for Plan B. What changed in 24 hours? It wasn't the data. 10 days ago, they said it would take them 3 weeks to have anything solid on Omicron. But in the space of 24 hours, suddenly Omicron becomes a dire threat. What changed, of course, was that Boris Johnson was in dire need of a dead cat moment. They admitted to violating their own lockdown rules by hosting numerous Christmas parties. While everyone else was under lockdown, while everyone else had to cancel their Christmas. While some people lost out on a final chance to see their dying parents and grandparents. And what was the response from the general public? Well, the message was clear. Addressing the same government that made a mockery of lockdown rules, they stood up and loudly proclaimed, "Lock me down harder, Daddy!" Comres poll. 69% support vaccine passports compared to just 10% who oppose the scheme. 74% support working from home rule. Govern me harder, Daddy! They're claiming post-pandemic stress disorder is now a thing.
Then we told them the sudden onset of hundreds of thousands of heart-related illnesses were due to post-pandemic stress disorder.
So what's this clamour for more restrictions all about? Post-pandemic battered wives syndrome. These are people out there who are now absolutely certain that the government has been relentlessly taking the piss out of them for 20 months, yet still strap a nappy to their face when ordered to by the very same government. You're mad at a corrupt government for abusing its power when it comes to COVID rules, and your response is to reward that government with more power to abuse. Govern me harder, Daddy! You're angrier at the Tories for having a festive piss-up during lockdown than the horrendous toll that their lockdown policies have had on this country. 740,000 missed cancer screenings, a devastating mental health crisis, largest ever recorded rise in alcoholism, unprecedented assault on our freedoms, massive economic damage. Man, not bothered about any of that, and you supported the cause of it. But some politicians having a cheese and wine knees up at number 10. Oh, now we're mad. We have an opposition party calling for Boris to resign for allowing his government to flout COVID rules, while simultaneously asserting they'll vote for Boris and his government to impose more COVID rules. They're even saying Boris isn't going far enough. If it came up for a vote, Labour would rubber stamp tattooing QR codes on kids' heads. And what of the rules? Well, once again, they're a shameful farce. Their own internal study said COVID passports would achieve nothing and could even worsen the spread. They achieved nothing in Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and every other European country that introduced them. Guess it's time to introduce COVID passports then. Makes perfect sense. Here's another one. So you shouldn't go to work to be with your colleagues. Apart from if it's a Christmas party, then you can be with your colleagues in closer proximity than you would have been if you'd have gone to work with them. Makes perfect perfect sense. You don't have to wear a mask in a packed pub on Christmas Eve in close proximity to everyone, but you do have to wear one while at a cinema sat in your own seat. Makes perfect sense. I guess the solution is just to lock down even harder and cancel Christmas entirely again. They're already preparing the public for that in the media with Plan C.
Couldn't care less.
Here's my Plan C. Swivel on it. You're never cancelling my Christmas again. And all of this is being imposed not because of public health or science, but because of politics, because they needed a distraction. They're on the news telling you we need these rules to stop a dangerous rise in hospitalisation figures, while literally standing in front of a graph showing hospitalisation figures going down. Oh, but Omicron is going to cause 1 million corona cases a day. Yeah, say the same people who back in July said lifting the restrictions would cause 7,000 hospitalisations a day. The restrictions were lifted and it never reached 1,000 a day. Why are we still listening to these people? They have no credibility. They've been wrong every time. And what of Omicron, the deadly new variant that has killed precisely 0 people in the entire world? The WHO says preliminary data indicates hospitalizations across South Africa have remained low. The load on hospitals is significantly lower compared to Delta. Botswana, where the variant originated, has not seen a rise in COVID hospital admissions so far. According to experts in South Africa, the variant causes much milder symptoms. The EU says cases are mostly mild. Some experts even say we should allow the milder variant to spread to reach herd immunity. Some even say this is good news and it could herald the end of the pandemic. So why is our government formulating policy as if the situation was 180 degrees the other way? There is, of course, another possibility that the Christmas party thing is a giant red herring, and that the semi-lockdown was planned all along, just as we knew back in summer 2020 that they were planning another lockdown in October. Journalist Neil Clark predicted the January lockdown to the day, and was out by just 1 day on the current semi-lockdown based on his inside source. They appear to be working to a political timetable that's completely divorced from the data, from the science that they so vehemently exalt. They're not even bothering to cite data that supports their cause anymore, because such data doesn't exist. Another thing that doesn't exist is any rational reason to continue listening to these clowns for a second longer. And unless you want to be trapped in this never-ending circling of the drain of existence for years to come, it's time to say, enough is enough. It's absolutely crucial for you to help me fight the war on free speech by supporting me via Subscribe Star, link in description, and also signing up for my free newsletter at summit.news/newsletter.